This is the second part, which is the cutting aspect after the pattern drafting. These are my patterns. So once you're done drafting out your patterns, we'll go into the cutting aspect of it. So when choosing your fabric, remember to make use of a fabric that does not stretch, like there's no stretch limit. It's stiff, pure cotton. It's best to even use a denim fabric for this. So I'll go ahead to trace my back skirt, transferring all the necessary markings. My back skirt is with a dart, while that of the front is without a dart. So I'm adding some seam allowance for the zipper area, which is the center back, though there's no zipper allowance, but it's just a center back seam allowance. Then I want to cut it into 2 pieces for the back. So while cutting, I realized I needed an extension that would enable me to cover or conceal the carton that I would use underneath. So I went ahead to add 3 cm. So I extended it by 3 cm. I would also do that for the front to balance it up. Mind you, I did not add seam allowance at the side because after stuffing it up with the scraps of fabric, I realized that it's usually puffy and more wider than the initial size of the measurement. So I decided to exclude seam allowance for the sides. So we're done with cutting the back skirt. Now I'm going to transfer my dart apex to the back side or the second part of the skirt. To do this, I'll insert my office pin, and the office pin would appear at the back, then giving me an opportunity to locate the exact point of the dart apex. So it's very, very important for you to always transfer your markings at the cutting stage and also create out all your notches, because it will make your sewing easier, and it will also make your work look more professional because your sewing will be easy and your markings are all precise. So once I'm done with this, let's move on to cutting the front skirt. So in the process of cutting my front skirt, I was calculating, should I include the extension after tracing it out, or I should include the extension then trace it out. Then I decided to go with including the extension so that I can really economize the amount of fabric I'm using and if it will be enough. So I went ahead to add 3 cm. Then I square in, so that portion there would serve as a 3 cm extension. Then now I'm also adding seam allowance for the center part because the front skirt is going to be stitched at the center part. So my center seam allowance is 0.5, same with the center back seam allowance. So after drawing all this out, I'll go ahead to place my pattern paper, then trace out. Then do not forget, you're not adding seam allowance at the side, so just add your seam allowance only at the waistline. Now I did some little errors while cutting the body section. This area that I'm tracing out, I forgot, not that I forgot, I intentionally did not add the seam allowance, but during the sewing process I realized that seam allowance is very important. So if you are doing yours, please include your seam allowance at the bust line region. I took the measurements I use as the neck height so that I would also use it when cutting out the back. It has to be of equal length. Now I'm adding my seam allowance, so please don't forget to add the seam allowance at the bust area. I would also add seam allowance at the waistline. So in summary, you have to include seam allowance all around the bodies, the center piece region. Alright, we're done cutting the center front piece. Went ahead to clip the shoulder neck points to enable easy sewing. Now I'll trace out the center front piece, the side front piece. Now the side front piece, the seam allowance, I also did not add it at the bust region area. Please add yours, if not it's going to affect the garment after stitching it. But do not add seam allowance to the sideline region. So this part I am tracing now is the bust region. Please add seam allowance to it after tracing it out. The same way you add seam allowance to the waistline, to the arm curve, and also the shoulder line, but not at the sideline. Now the line in which I'm about to draw is called the side line. That is the side you are not meant to add seam allowance to. Yeah, we are done with the cutting. Now I'm tracing out my back, the center back region. Now mark the length of the neck. I add the necessary seam allowance. Also at this part, please also include the seam allowance at the side region. The back would have seam allowance all over. excluding the side line. When adding seam allowance, do not add only at the side line. Now these are the cutting, very neat and sharp. So you go ahead to stitch. Now you have to stitch it at the center to get the skirt part complete. Then you stitch the bodies at the bust region to get the bust. This is what it looks like after stitching it at the center. This is my back and front skirts. Then this is the back bodies. This is the front bodies. The mistake I told you I had for not including seam allowance at the bust line, it made the bodies smaller than the skirt. So if yours is included, it's going to be equal. Because when stitching it at the waistline, I had to trim from the skirt to equalize it. So I'm going to trim those excess off while the back is balanced, but any area that is not balanced, you trim it off. Then now I'll join it at the side. All those, I could not make a video of where I stuff it up, so please, after closing it up, so the next thing for you to do is to just stuff it up and close your armhole with a circular piece of fabric. You unstitch the circular piece of fabric to the armhole region. So this neck region I was telling you about, this angle, angle 90. So when you join it to the back, piece together, then the opening at the neck region, you attach a cycle stuff to it.